My phone buzzed at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Mom's text was short, sharp and final. Don't call or come over. We're done. My hands shook as I read it. I typed 2 words back. Got it. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just stopped. I stopped the money, the care, and everything. And that's when their world started falling apart. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 33 years old, and this is the story of how my family threw me away like trash, then panicked when they realized I was the only thing holding them together. If you've ever been the family ATM, the one who gives and gives while getting nothing back, this story is for you. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of my stories. What happened next changed everything in my family. Growing up in Portland, Oregon, I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. Our family wasn't rich, but we weren't poor either. Dad owned a small plumbing business and Mom worked part-time at a dental office. We lived in a 3-bedroom house with a yard that needed mowing and a roof that leaked when it rained hard. Normal average family. Except for one thing. My younger brother, Tyler. Tyler was 5 years younger than me, and from the moment he was born, he became the sun our family orbited around. Everything revolved around Tyler. His baseball games. His grades. His friends. His needs. I was 12 when he was 7, and I remember standing in the kitchen one afternoon, holding up my report card. All A's. Perfect scores in every subject. Mom glanced at it. "That's great, honey," she said, barely looking up from the pot she was stirring. Then she turned to Tyler, who just walked in with a C- on a spelling test. Her face lit up. "Oh, sweetie, you tried so hard. I'm so proud of you." I stood there, holding my report card, feeling invisible. That became the pattern. I could excel, achieve, work myself to the bone, and it would get a polite nod. Tyler could do the bare minimum, and they'd throw him a parade. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was being dramatic. But the feeling grew, settling into my chest like a stone I carried everywhere. By the time I was 16, I had a part-time job at a local coffee shop. I told my parents it was for spending money, but really, it was because I'd overheard them arguing about bills one night. The plumbing business was struggling. Insurance costs were rising. They were stressed. So I started working, quietly funneling money into the household account. $50 here. $100 there. They never asked where it came from. They just took it. Tyler, meanwhile, got a new bike for his birthday. Then a gaming console. Then a trip to Disneyland with his baseball team. I didn't get angry. I just worked more hours. College was supposed to be my escape. I applied to schools across the country, dreaming of leaving Portland behind. I got into a good university in California with a partial scholarship. I was thrilled. Until Dad sat me down at the kitchen table, his face serious. "Sarah, we need to talk about college," he said. I smiled, excited to share my plans. He didn't smile back. "We can't afford to send you. The business is struggling, and Tyler's going to need help with his tuition in a few years. You're smart. I'm sure you'll figure it out." My smile died. "But I got a scholarship. I just need help with the rest." Mom walked in, drying her hands on a dish towel. "Your father's right, Sarah. Family comes first. Tyler's younger. He needs us more." I felt like I'd been slapped. "So, I'm supposed to what? Just not go?" "You can go to community college here," Dad said. "Live at home. Save money. It's the responsible thing to do." Responsible? That word haunted me for years. I went to community college. I lived at home. I worked 2 jobs, waitressing at night and doing data entry during the day. I saved every penny I could, and by the time I was 20, I'd transferred to a state university. I paid for everything myself. Tuition, books, rent, food. My parents didn't help. Not once. And Tyler? He got a full ride to his dream school, paid for by Mom and Dad, who suddenly found money they didn't have when it was my turn. I graduated with a degree in finance and landed a job at a mid-sized investment firm in Portland. My starting salary was $60,000 a year. It felt like winning the lottery. Finally, I could breathe. Finally, I could build something for myself. But that's not what happened. 3 months into my new job, Mom called. Her voice was tight, strained. "Sarah, we need your help." Dad's plumbing business had taken on too much debt. They'd expanded too quickly, hired too many people, and now they were drowning. They needed $20,000 to stay afloat. $20,000. I didn't have that kind of money saved yet, but I had a decent credit limit and a steady paycheck. So I did it. I took out a loan. I gave them the money. They promised to pay me back. They never did. Instead, 6 months later, they called again. This time it was Mom's medical bills. She'd fallen and broken her hip. The surgery was expensive, and insurance didn't cover everything. Another $15,000. I gave it. Then it was Tyler. He graduated and moved to Seattle to find himself. He was unemployed, living in an expensive apartment he couldn't afford, and racking up credit card debt. Mom called, crying. "He's your brother, Sarah. He needs help." I sent him $5,000. Then another $3,000. Then another $2,000. The pattern became clear. I was the family bank, the safety net, the one who'd always been responsible, so I'd always be expected to clean up everyone else's messes. But I didn't mind. Not really. Because every time I sent money, Mom would say, "Thank you, Sarah. You're such a good daughter." And for a few moments, I felt seen, valued, loved. I met David when I was 28. He was a software engineer, funny and kind, with dark hair and a smile that made my chest feel warm. We met at a friend's barbecue, and within 6 months, we were inseparable. He was different from anyone I'd ever dated. He actually listened. He cared about my dreams. He didn't see me as a wallet. When I brought him home to meet my parents, I was nervous. I wanted them to like him, to see how happy he made me. Dad shook his hand, barely looking up from the TV. "Nice to meet you." Mom smiled, but it was thin, polite. "He's very different from us, isn't he?" Different. That was her word for not good enough. Tyler wasn't there. He was in Seattle, still finding himself. But when I called to tell him about David, his response was cold. "Just don't forget about your family when you're busy playing house." Playing house. Like my relationship was a joke. David proposed a year later. It was perfect. A quiet evening at a park overlooking the river, the sun setting behind the trees. He got down on one knee, and I said yes before he even finished asking. I called my parents, excited to share the news. Mom's first words, "Are you sure about this, Sarah?" Dad's, "Marriage is expensive. Don't expect us to help." Not congratulations. Not we're happy for you. Just doubt and a reminder that I was on my own. I swallowed the hurt and threw myself into planning the wedding. David and I wanted something small and intimate. Just close friends and family. We budgeted $15,000, money we'd saved together. But then Tyler called. He was broke again. His car had broken down and he needed $2,000 for repairs. Mom called right after. "Sarah, he's stranded. He needs your help." I sent the money. Then Dad's business hit another snag. Equipment broke down. He needed $5,000. I sent it. Then Mom needed new glasses. Tyler needed help with rent. Dad needed to cover payroll. By the time the wedding rolled around, I'd given them over $30,000 in the past year alone. And they hadn't contributed a single cent to my wedding. Not 1 cent. The wedding was beautiful, despite everything. Small and simple, but perfect. David's family was warm and welcoming. His mom hugged me and whispered, "We're so glad you're part of our family now." My family showed up late. Tyler complained about the venue. Mom made a comment about my dress being a bit much. Dad left early, saying he had work in the morning. I smiled through it all, pretending it didn't hurt. But it did. After the wedding, David and I moved into a small apartment. We were happy, building a life together. I got a promotion at work, and my salary jumped to $85,000 a year. Things were finally looking up. Until Mom's text. It was a Tuesday night, and I was curled up on the couch with David, watching a movie. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Mom, don't call or come over. We're done. I stared at the words, my brain struggling to process them. Done? What did that mean? I read it again. And again. David noticed. What's wrong? I showed him the text, my hands trembling. He frowned. What happened? Did you guys have a fight? No, I whispered. I don't know what this is. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called Dad. Same thing. I texted Tyler. What's going on? No response. My chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing my ribs. I sat there, staring at my phone, waiting for an explanation. For context. For anything. Nothing came. David put his arm around me. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Give them some time. They'll reach out. But deep down I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a decision. I typed a response. 2 words. Got it. I hit send and put my phone down. David looked at me, surprised. That's it. I nodded, my throat tight. If they're done, then I'm done too. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction with my family, searching for clues. What had I done wrong? What had I said? Why now? And then it hit me. The money. A week earlier, Dad had called asking for $10,000. Another equipment failure at the business. I hesitated. For the first time in my life, I'd hesitated. Dad, I just bought a house with David, I'd said. We're stretched thin right now. Can it wait? His voice had gone cold. Never mind, Sarah. We'll figure it out. I'd felt guilty for days. But I didn't have $10,000 to spare. Not this time. Was that it? Was I being punished for saying no? The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls. All from my family. Mom, Dad, and Tyler. Then the voicemails started pouring in. I listened to the first one. Tyler's voice, loud and angry. What the hell, Sarah? You think you can just abandon us? After everything we've done for you? Everything they'd done for me? I felt a strange, cold clarity settle over me. I opened my banking app and looked at my transaction history. Years of payments. Tens of thousands of dollars. I'd been tracking it loosely, but now I wanted the exact number. I pulled up a spreadsheet and started entering every single payment I'd made to my family over the past 10 years. Dad's business, $73,000. Mom's medical bills, $42,000. Tyler's rent, car, credit cards, living expenses, $58,000. Miscellaneous, $21,000. Total, $194,000. $194,000. I stared at the number, my stomach churning. That was a down payment on a house. That was my retirement fund. That was my future. And they'd thrown me away like I was nothing. David came into the room, saw my face. Sarah? I showed him the spreadsheet. His eyes widened. Jesus. They texted me that we're done. I said, my voice flat. So I'm done. Really done. He nodded slowly. What are you going to do? I took a deep breath. I'm cutting them off completely. I didn't answer their calls. Not one. Over the next week, the messages piled up. Voicemails, texts and emails. Tyler, you're being childish. Grow up and call Mom back. Mom, Sarah, please. We need to talk. Don't do this. Dad, you're making a mistake. Family sticks together. I deleted every single one without reading past the first line. Then I did something I'd never done before. I hired a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Torres, a sharp woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense attitude. I walked into her office with my spreadsheet and a folder of receipts, bank statements, and text messages documenting every payment I'd ever made to my family. I want to know my options, I said. Rebecca reviewed everything, her expression growing more serious with each page. Finally, she looked up. Sarah, this is financial exploitation, she said bluntly. You've been systematically drained by your family for over a decade. If you wanted to, you could pursue legal action. I don't want to sue them, I said quickly. I just want them to leave me alone. Rebecca nodded. Then we send a cease and desist letter. Make it clear that any further contact will be considered harassment. Will that work? It'll scare them, she said. Whether it stops them depends on how desperate they are. I signed the paperwork that day. The letter was delivered 3 days later. The response was immediate. Tyler called, screaming into my voicemail. A cease and desist? Are you kidding me? You're threatening your own family with legal action. Mom left a tearful message. Sarah, how could you? We're your parents. We raised you. This is how you repay us. Repay them? I almost laughed. But the calls stopped. The text stopped, and the emails stopped too. Silence. For the first time in my life, I had peace. David and I focused on building our life together. We painted the walls of our new house. We planted a garden. We hosted dinners with his family, who treated me like I'd always belonged. I started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Emily Grant, helped me unpack years of guilt and conditioning. You were parentified, she explained during one session. You were forced into a caretaker role as a child, and it became your identity. Saying no felt like betrayal because you were trained to believe your worth was tied to what you could provide. Her words cracked something open inside me. I cried in that session. I really cried. Years of suppressed anger and hurt pouring out. But I also felt lighter. 3 months passed. Then 6. I'd almost forgotten about my family when my phone rang one night. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello. Sarah, it's me. Tyler's voice. Quiet and shaken. I have nothing to say to you. Wait. Please. Just listen. Something in his tone made me pause. Dad's business went under, he said. He filed for bankruptcy last week. And Mom, her hip is bad again. She needs another surgery, but they don't have insurance anymore. I felt nothing. No guilt. No sympathy. Just a distant, detached awareness. That's not my problem, I said. Sarah, they're desperate. They're losing the house. I don't have money to help them. You're the only. No. My voice was firm. Final. I gave you nearly $200,000. I sacrificed my future for all of you. And the moment I set a boundary, you disowned me. You made your choice. Now live with it. Sarah. I hung up. David looked at me from across the room. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, I really am. A month later, I got a Facebook message from an old family friend, Linda Chin. She'd known us for years. Sarah, I don't know if you've heard, but your parents are in a really bad spot. I saw your mom at the grocery store yesterday. She looked broken. I thought you should know. I didn't respond, but curiosity got the better of me. I looked at my parents' Facebook pages. Mom's was private, but Dad's wasn't. There was a post from 2 weeks ago, asking for help from our community. Times are tough, and we're facing some financial hardship. If anyone can spare anything, we'd be grateful. God bless. The comments were full of sympathy. People offering prayers, small donations. I scrolled further. Another post from a month before. Sometimes family lets you down, but we're strong. We'll get through this. Family lets you down. I closed the app, my hands shaking. They were playing the victim, painting themselves as abandoned, betrayed. David found me sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. They're telling people I abandoned them, I said quietly. He sat beside me. Do you care what they think? I thought about it. I really thought about it. No, I said finally. I don't. But part of me wanted them to understand, to really see what they'd done. So I wrote a letter. Not to them. To everyone. I wrote a detailed post on my own Facebook page, laying out everything. The years of financial support, the total amount I'd given, the text from Mom disowned me, the cease and desist letter. I attached screenshots, bank statements, receipts, and text messages. And I posted it publicly. Within hours, it had hundreds of shares. People I hadn't spoken to in years reached out. I had no idea. You're so strong. They should be ashamed. Linda Chen commented. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I didn't know the whole story. My parents' friends started pulling back. The donation stopped. The sympathy dried up. Tyler sent me one final message. You destroyed them. I hope you're happy.
I didn't respond.
Because I wasn't happy. But I wasn't sad either. I was free. A year later, David and I were sitting on our back porch, watching the sunset. Our dog, a golden retriever named Bailey, was asleep at our feet. Do you ever regret it? David asked. I thought about it.
No.
I regret how long it took me to do it. He smiled. You're stronger than you think. I leaned into him. I just wish I'd known sooner that I didn't owe them my life. You know now. I did. I'd learned that family isn't about blood.
It's about respect, love,
reciprocity. And I'd found that with David, with his family, with the friends who'd stood by me. My parents lost their house. Dad took a job as a contract plumber. Mom moved in with Tyler, who'd finally gotten a steady job out of necessity. I heard all this through the grapevine. I didn't reach out, didn't check in. They'd made their choice. And I'd made mine. If you've ever been the one who gives everything and gets nothing back, I want you to know, you don't owe anyone your future. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's survival. Drop a comment if this story resonated with you. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself. You deserve better.